In today's video, I am going to be breaking down Nikola Jokic and how he is able to win this year's league's MVP. He was easily one of the top players in the NBA this year, so let's get down, let's see why he won the MVP, but also how you can incorporate his skills into your game. So one thing that he does really well is the ability to run the floor and set up passes for his teammates. Now, one thing that you can do as a point guard or just anyone who is dribbling the ball up the court is when you are dribbling the ball up the court down the middle of the court and you have a player who you think that you could get him a pass who is cutting towards the rim, what you need to do is to cut across the middle of the key or across the middle of the court. The reason for this is it starts to drag up defenders looking at you or trying to defend you, which usually can open up a lane for the attacking player, and that's what we see here. He actually fakes a pass out towards the wing, and then instead he's able to pass a very good bounce pass between two players, and of course his teammate's very good to be able to actually catch that ball. Being an MVP also needs your teammates. You can't do everything yourself. So here we have a screen away by Jamal Murray for, of course, Porter Jr. He then uses that screen and cuts towards the basket hard. He attacks the basket. He's able to get that pass from Jokic, and of course he's able to finish with a slam dunk. Of course, this assist would not be there if it wasn't for the screen away and a very hard cut towards the basket right afterwards. He kept his body angled so that he could keep in front of his defender, and of course Jokic is able to hit him with a very good pass. So here he's actually able to see that he has drawn up the middle defender in a zone, which has now isolated this player to guard two players. And what's he able to do? Well, this assist wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the weak side baseline cutter. So what does Jokic do? He takes one dribble towards the right side, and then he looks out towards this wing. That then gets this defender down onto his heels, thinking the pass was going to go out towards the corner. However, instead, this is why one-handed passes are so important. Jokic is able to look this way, and then with one hand pass to the player who is cutting baseline, and that player is able to finish. When Jokic is also posting up, this is something that a lot of post players do not do, and for anyone who's watching these videos who was on the last cruise that I was on, I know there's a few of you who are probably watching still, you've seen me do this in the low post in our games. You're able to see me do passes like this. The reason for this is because, of course, I'm posting you up. I'm going to try and score, but at the same time, or at least Jokic is doing this, I should say, but this is something that I do a lot. And when you're posting up, you don't want to be just singular attention on the rim to attack the rim. You want to see what other players are doing, because then you can set up amazing passes like this so that you can get assists, but also your teammate's basket. Basically, how this was set up was the help defender came over to double team, and then of course the player who is now up there, he cuts back door. If it wasn't for him cutting back door, this pass would have never been there, and he was able to then use that to his advantage. Something that everyone needs to do if they're with a very good passer is to cut towards the rim. Moving off ball will always get you the ball back if you're playing with somebody like Jokic who can pass the ball at a high level. But let's face it, Jokic is a very good scorer anyways. He can get up there with some of the best. And of course we can see that here when he basically takes his man one-on-one. But this is actually a very good move. So he catches that ball, he then looks like if he's going to attack the middle of the key, but instead he turns back the other way. How does this work? Well, guess what? When he lands, he drops this foot, he drops his shoulder, and he looks that way. Then in return, that defender thinks he's going to go that way, but instead he turns back the opposite direction and he's able to then posterize that player. While in this second clip, we see him take two big steps. This was kind of cut off. That was my fault for the editing, but he took two big steps, his last one being absolutely massive, and then he was able to use both hands going up for the shot. He was able to use his knee as well as his offhand to protect against the shot blocker. And because he's very good with one hand, he was able to then finish. He should have made it the first time around, but he then follows his rebound and gets his offensive rebound and 2 points. Now, this is something a lot of players don't understand about Nikola Jokic. Even though he's not the quickest player, he has a lot of footwork and skills to be able to score. So here, he does a low swipe across his knees. Sometimes you would want to do that across your waist if you wanted to have power, if you were going up against a very strong defender who wants to try and reach in all the time. Next, he takes a couple of dribbles towards the baseline. He then goes left, right, takes that dribble and spins off. That's 1-2. Now, watch this. He wants to create as much space as possible. And this is something that a lot of posts players could do. Here, he actually hops right, left. See that? So that's his gather. He's allowed to take 2 more steps, but so many players will just go step, step, and you're all set. But instead, his first step is actually a hop. See that? It's a hop. Hop, hop, hop. And that creates a little bit more space for him, and it gives him a little bit more power to be able to go up for that shot. Now, next we see him, again, always looking to pass the ball. And these low bounce passes are extremely lucrative to him to be able to get a lot of assists. And that's one of the reasons why he was able to be able to get MVP. And let's not forget, he can actually hit a 3-point shot as well at a very high clip. So between his passing ability, his ability to score in the low post, and his ability to stretch the defense, hit threes, creates the ability for him to draw that defender up away from the net, which then allows the lane to be open, because now with a 7-footer out on the 3-point line who can shoot the ball, another 7-footer on the other team cannot sit in the key and let him shoot, because that's going to go in and they don't want that. So that draws the 7-footer away from the basket. That then creates the ability for other players on the team to cut towards the basket. It allows him to pass to them. And because that 7-footer was stretched out to the 3, it then doesn't allow that 7-footer to be down in the low post to be able to contest a layup or a dunk by a shorter player. This is why Nikola Jokic won MVP. He wasn't also that bad on defense. He was a pretty good defender as well. And because he was able to defend, he has this scoring ability, the ability to draw up a 7-footer out of the key so that that 7-footer can't stop others from scoring. You now have the ability to just basically have an unstoppable team. Because now if players on that team are able to cut towards the rim, they're going to be successful as well. Between him and Jamal Murray, they make that team amazing. It's too bad that Jamal Murray had to get injured. I really wanted to see him this summer in the Olympics, but I hope that he gets better soon. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe. Go check out all of the equipment that I use down in the description below, and I'll see you guys again next time.